Welcome to another episode of Abounding and Alive. My guest this week is Celeste Case-Ruchala, self-discovery coach, author, and host of the podcast, My Healing is Your Healing. She helps women to explore self-trust, authenticity, and why they keep dimming their light for others. So stay tuned for a fantastic episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Abounding and Alive podcast. My name is Becky. I am your host, and I am back with another fantastic guest today. Her name is Celeste, and she is a self-discovery coach, an author, and the host of her own podcast. So before we get to her, I just want to let everybody know that Abounding and Alive is on Rhode Island broadcast now. You can go at any of their online platforms like YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Kick, Twitch, all of the places. Abounding and Alive is being hosted there every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So make sure you check me out there. I am also on Thursdays now for my own show here. It was supposed to be Tuesdays. It has just evolved into Thursdays. So make sure you check me out every Thursday around 8-ish a.m. Mountain Time. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Celeste.
Hello.
So I'm very excited to have you here.
Likewise, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I will tell everyone where you're from, first of all.
I'm from a lot of different places, but currently in Washington State.
Oh, okay. So actually not horribly far from where I am. I'm in Canada, up in Alberta. So, not close, but most people that I interview seem to be from the east side of the US, some even in Europe. So this is nice that our schedules are a little more aligned, a little easier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you are a self-discovery coach, author, podcast host. You do all the things. When I saw your bio, I said, I need this person on my podcast because I just think you're doing amazing work.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey to get here, but now it's very special.
Tell me what led you into where you're at now, because obviously you've been through some things to point you into helping people. I really think that you kind of have to experience some stuff before you really want to help people.
I agree with that. Yeah. It's kind of funny because my background is all over the place. It has nothing to do with therapy or self-help or coaching at all. I actually have a doctorate in clarinet performance and
whoa.
Yeah, right. So but it's not anything, that has ever been taught to me in this space. So 2 years ago, I was walking around at a conference with a colleague, regular conversation, and he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, Celeste, can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. What is it going to be like? How was your lunch?" No, he goes, "Celeste, have you ever felt seen?"
Oh,
and I looked at him. Yeah. And I'm like, this is 2 weeks before my wedding, by the way. So this was like a question that should not have cut as deep as it did, but I literally started to cry.
Yeah.
And so I recognized that if I don't know who I am, how the heck can I go and marry somebody because they probably don't know who I am, right?
Totally.
And so that's what kicked off this whole journey of starting to figure out who is Celeste and what is she like? And does she do the things that she does because she likes them or because somebody told her to do them?
Yeah, because it's expected of you or you were raised that way.
Absolutely.
Girl, that is deep.
I mean, we grew up thinking that there is this script, right? And that Prince Charming someday is going to come knock on your door and say, "Hello, Celeste, you are amazing. Let me ride you off into the sunset." Right?
Disney lie. Yes.
And so forever I thought that what was supposed to happen, right? So I walked the guy into the jewelry store basically and told him what I wanted and how to propose. And then I said, "I'm sorry, I don't want this anymore." And I walked away.
Did you guys break up?
I walked down the aisle and then I had a panic attack. And so we didn't get married. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you had a panic attack at the altar?
After the wedding. After the wedding.
After.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is intense.
Intense.
Okay, so like we were talking about backstage, I've been married twice. And at my first wedding, I was excited because you plan this event and it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be your best friend forever. But I think I always knew that something was off. Granted, we were very young and it was also very, very quick. And I really didn't know the guy, but there had been red flags. And I kept thinking, I actually don't know if I want this, but everyone's excited. We're planning this, and this is fun. And his sister was actually sick with cancer at the time, and this was something to look forward to, something that she was excited about. And I loved the family, and I genuinely loved my husband, but I think I just knew that something wasn't right. And I told it actually took a lot of years for me to admit this, but I told my mom. I had reservations before the wedding, but I didn't want to let anybody down. And she was like, why did you go through with this? We would have rather you, put it on hold and figured it out instead of had a marriage that you had to have the divorce from. So
that is so like multifaceted, right? There's so much to that because we live our lives for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And until you're able to like look yourself in the eye and know that you are doing all of the things in your life for you first, you're stuck.
Yeah. It's very hard to deprogram, I think, because especially as women, especially, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I would imagine somewhere around my age. And I feel like we were sort of even quietly taught. I mean, maybe if it wasn't like so overtly taught, but it was quietly taught to us that this was the order of things and this is how you do it. And that's that.
So it's kind of funny that you say that. So I'm writing a new book and it's coming out in November. And it is called Becoming the Radiant Woman. And it's basically about how, as women, we have always been told to dim our light, to dim who we are, and to like get in line, right? And be pretty, but don't speak up. And right?
Yeah.
And we are allowed to be ourselves. We don't have to go around smiling just because we feel like it, right? Or like I always get told to smile by men.
Oh, you're so much prettier when you smile.
Oh yeah, I'm like, they're like, are you in a bad mood? No,
are you sick? I like that one. No, I'm just not pretty without makeup. Just leave me alone. Like I used to say that all the time to guys I'd work with. Oh, are you not well today? No, I'm well. I just have no makeup on. Thank you for asking.
But there's this expectation of somebody who we're supposed to be. And if we're not wearing that mask that people are expecting, then we're not human.
Yeah, you're supposed to just be like all day long, even while you feel like a piece of trash. Yes.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm trying to start having these conversations about with women, not just, the mask to take off, but like on a deeper level, like what does success mean to you? Or where does your self-worth come from? Right?
Yeah.
These are the conversations that we're starting. And it's really cool because when you start to have a group of women, it's not just like one-on-one, right? You start to hear all of these different stories from people and they're like, oh my God, I thought I was the only person that thought that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy how we, most of us have the same story. Really.
Yes.
I have 2 teenage daughters, so that's fun in itself, but I'm really trying to impart in them without, full on indoctrinating, but impart in them, hey, you don't need to go down some of the same paths that I went down. You don't need to get married at 22. You don't need to start having families right away. You can go travel. You don't just have to dive into college. I'm trying to teach them things for them to be their own people without going so against societal norms, but also not dimming their light, like you say. And it is tough because even at, my oldest one is 15, has a boyfriend, a new thing for her, having a serious boyfriend. I don't know how serious, but I say to her, like, just so you know, even if you're not with this person, even if he breaks up with you, even if he doesn't like you and says mean things about you, whatever, it doesn't mean you're any less of a person. Your self-worth isn't wrapped up in what guys like you, what guys ask for your Snapchat, how popular you are, how pretty you are. It's not wrapped up in that.
But it's so funny because that is the world that we lived in when we were growing up,
Sure.
and nobody told you otherwise.
She already feels this way. And I'm like, where did you learn this? Like, you're 15. And I'm hearing her talk about, all these guys asked for my Snapchat, mom. All these guys, like, she does track and field, so she's always at events.
Oh, yeah.
And oh, sorry, I got dogs barking like I suspected. But she does track and field, so she's always at these events, and she's always kind of getting hit on, again, quote unquote hit on. But it's like, all of a sudden she feels really good about that. Like, it feels good to have attention. And I'm thinking, oh, you are me. You are me, and I don't like it. We need to break this, because
How did we learn this validation?
I have no idea. TV, I guess, movies, and really what it led to in, my, once I got divorced, and it was like, I'm not lovable anymore. That's what it turned into. I'm not lovable unless a man loves me. And then, of course, being a single mom on Tinder, that is an absolute nightmare in itself as well, which really affects the self-worth, because you're like, this man likes me because of how I look or my body or whatever, but he actually doesn't like me because I have children and doesn't want to have a serious relationship with me. So what worth am I? And that it took a lot of self-development and counseling and work to break through that, realizing that you actually have worth despite who likes you.
And that is the hardest thing, because unless you have gone through and you actually want to change and you've had that like catalyst moment, you don't know that there's anything wrong until the world starts screaming at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I wouldn't have had that moment at the conference, I might not still be here right now, like having this conversation in this way. I would be living a different life. And I think about that so often.
Your colleague who started this domino effect here, like when you first were telling me it, I was thinking, oh, is he going to tell you that, he cares about you, or that when you said, can I ask you a question? I thought, oh boy. But, like, did he ever tell you why he asked that? Like, was he feeling like you had your light dimmed a bit, or was it just a complete random thought of his, or what prompted him to ask that?
I think, yes. So I think a lot of people are mirrors to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can read you or they recognize that you're not being 100% yourself, like you're wearing a mask.
Fair.
But it's kind of weird. Like, men do this to me more often than like, I don't think that women actually can like see into my eyes and be like, you're not being yourself. Why like talk to me about this?
Right.
But yeah, I think that he could tell that there were parts of me that I just didn't share with anyone. And like, I loved the validation and the recognition, but it was about achievement and success and not about like deeply understanding myself and trusting myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's interesting that like men can feel that with you and not women. So that makes me wonder, is there something in your past, even like with women, that has almost closed you up to being more vulnerable with a woman, even subconsciously?
I think that there's a few answers to that.
Yeah.
As women, when we're growing up, there's always competition, right? For
Always.
for the man, or for like, winning first chair clarinet, or, the varsity swim team, right? These are all my stories.
Right. Yes.
But like, you also get bullied and told that you are less than by other women as you're growing up. And so, your clothes aren't cool enough, or you're a zitty teenager. And you get told these things. And so it's not a safe place to be. And men, they give you the validation. They're like, oh, you're so pretty, or, maybe not in the best ways, but they are the people that you feel safe with. And so until you learn how to have a best friend that you can have those deeper conversations with and feel safe being yourself, you just don't.
Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. I've always felt like women disliked me. Now, granted, I have a very close group of girlfriends I have since junior high that I'm still close with at almost 40, which I'm so thankful for. But outside of them, I always felt like women did not like me. We'd go to work events. The wives wouldn't like me. The girls I worked with in offices wouldn't like me. And I thought, I don't get it. Like, I'm a nice person. But it's just the way that women are. Maybe, I was a makeup artist for years and years. So I always had my makeup done. I would have lashes done. Pre-cancer, I feel like I had a pretty rocking body. So I just feel like women are sort of, it's ingrained in us to just hate other women who you feel threatened by, which is so stupid because, if you really gave people a chance, you might find very valuable friendships in that.
And that's what I'm finding today. I mean, and it's shocking. So when I moved from Phoenix up here to Washington, I recognized that I didn't have any friends. And I was like, why is this happening? Right. So I moved here and I got super, super, super curious about other people. I wanted to know what made them tick. And I wanted to know what lit them up on a daily basis. Right. And as you start asking people those questions and you get to know them from the inside out, like not anything that they look like or any of their achievements or statuses. Right. And you see them as just a human being, that changes everything.
Yeah. It really does. It's so, I think, taught to us at a very young age, though, to judge somebody by their appearance or by what they're wearing, how they look, if they even have nice teeth. Like, and it's crazy, again, at almost 40, like sometimes I see people my age with really bad teeth or kids with really bad teeth. And I think, why didn't their parents get them braces? Why, you're an adult, you have benefits. Like, why? And I think now, like, what the heck are you doing? I actually had a talk with myself yesterday. Why are you judging somebody? Who are you to literally say anything about anybody? And I had this literal, like, out loud conversation with myself.
That's so funny because you were just talking about Tinder and swiping on people. And it's like, you don't even take the time to read what it is that they say about themselves. That first picture that's on there, you're like, no.
I decided to go into this Facebook group, even though I'm married, but it's a Facebook group called Are We Dating the Same Guy? I think I was just more curious for my single friends. And some of these posts, oh my word, it's just people will post about a guy. And then the girls in the comments, oh, look how short he is. Oh, that's pretty bold comment for a guy who's 5'7". It's like, are you serious? This is why you're all single. So it's insane. Like, the Tinder world has honestly killed a lot of meaningful relationships, I would say, or the potential for a meaningful relationship, because and also it really boosts a lot of people's self-esteem and really kills a lot of people's self-esteem, and both kind of at the same time, because maybe in real life you would be quite a desirable person to the sex you're after, but on Tinder there's 20 of you, so like, why settle with one when you could have 20?
That's so crazy.
Bizarre world.
So in all of this, right, I'm like out there dating now and trying to figure out who I want in my life. And I'm finding it like, I don't want to meet them on an app. I want it to be organic. And so a while ago, before I felt like I was actually settled enough to do it, swiping on the apps felt absolutely terrible, because you'd go through the high of initially like opening again, and you'd have like a bunch of missed like hearts and stuff. And then when you're going through it, you're like, oh, I like this guy and this guy, but they never wind up coming into your inbox, right? And it's just this like, okay, well, now I feel really shitty about myself. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you delete it. Or you go on a date and you're like, oh my God, how did I like this person? Like, they're very, like, they can't hold a conversation, whatever. And so now I'm recognizing that if you're not in the place that you want to be to attract somebody, there's no reason to go out there and try to attract something, because they are not going to be on the same page as you.
Yes. It's kind of like, if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love anybody else?
No. Or you're going to get somebody in that same state.
Yes. Yeah. Like a really toxic, broken relationship, or a relationship built on fantasy, really, or a facade.
And it was so funny because when I moved here and I was in that place of like dating dog poo, I got dog poo, and he breadcrumbed me, and like it became this situationship for like a good year and a half. And it was painful because I kept thinking like, well, if I do this, then he'll stay. Or if I do this, then he'll love me and it'll change everything. Like I can save this guy. But then you don't realize that like you have to be the one who saves yourself. And then the people that are going to be in your life will be attracted in.
Yeah. I have been thinking as you're talking about, well, even my brother, he's kind of newly single within the last couple of years. And he tried the social media dating and things like that. And he would no trouble finding girls, but like finding someone of value to him and who would stick around and was willing to work through things, like, no, it just doesn't exist. And I think finally he's like, I'm done doing this because why? What am I getting out of this? So I think a lot of people reach that part.
Yeah, but then you just have to kind of take that leap of faith and trust the universe or whatever it is that you believe in.
Yeah.
That sometime, whenever it's meant to happen, it will happen and you'll just come across it in normal life.
So true. Like my husband, my current husband, I knew him from when we were in, I think, 9th and 10th grade. And who knew that we would end up married 20 years later? So all that time I spent on Tinder and Bumble, like it was such a waste of my time. All those nights away from my kids or getting a babysitter or on dates with guys that had no interest in me. Like what a waste of time, because eventually the universe or God or whatever you believe in will bring you to where you need to be.
And that's the crazy thing is like, if you think about it, we have about 80 summers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are not living the life that we want to be living today, that time period that we potentially have left just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're waiting until retirement to have and be the things that we want to be, that's really sad.
That is really sad. Yes, you're right. I think like I had, well, even in that time, that single time, I really struggled. I think part of it is because my marriage was over and, my self-worth was real bad. And then, I had some unresolved stuff with my dad, and I have a fantastic relationship with my dad, but it was rocky growing up. And it literally took a conversation with my dad that I had never, ever wanted to do. But when I was 30, we had a conversation about how I was raised and, how that hurt me. And he apologized for just being like kind of a distant father. And man, did that ever change my disposition on dating in general. Like I remember being married to my first husband and him wanting affection, him wanting to hug and hold hands and cuddle. And I'd be like, ew, get away from me. Why would I want that? Because growing up, I had a dad who didn't know how to do that. I wasn't allowed to sit close to my dad. If we were on a couch, no, you're on that end of the couch. Like we don't cuddle. And then it really took, releasing that off of me, that burden, and having the conversation with my dad to realize maybe I actually really do want affection. Maybe I really do want to cuddle with somebody. But it took, I guess, myself feeling like I was good enough again to allow a man. And then sure enough, within the month, my husband appeared.
That's crazy. Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like literally
that is, do you believe in the serendipity, like, or just things happen randomly?
Yeah, I do think everything is like for a purpose, but I also think like there are some crazy coincidences that maybe they weren't coincidences, and I don't know.
So I think that was what the conversation was 2 weeks before my wedding. That was, the universe probably had been whispering at me for a while, and it was like, hey, Celeste, you need to start like questioning what you're doing, right? Yes. And then I didn't listen, and then it was like, shove, Celeste, pay attention.
It was like, wake up. Yeah, you don't hear the signs, so the signs literally come and hit you in the head. Yeah. We were actually talking about this on the podcast episode that came out yesterday, how like me with my health, like I thought I was so healthy and doing everything right, but I think quietly I was being told, hey, maybe you're burnt out. Hey, maybe you're taking on too much. Hey, maybe you're a little stressed out. Maybe you don't love your job. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're whatever, have unresolved stuff. And then eventually, bam, I was sick. I had cancer. And it was like, how did this happen? I was so healthy. And then looking back is like, well, actually, maybe I missed some signs.
There's a quote from one of the people that were on my podcast, and she's like, you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards.
So true.
Because you can only, yeah. And so like, you can't unsee the things that you now know. Yes. So looking forward, you would recognize the signs.
Yeah. I even look at pictures of myself. I said this to my grandma the other day. There's pictures of me 3 months before being diagnosed, if that, 2 months maybe. And I thought I was like looking good there. And I looked back at this picture the other day and I was like, geez. I'm like, no, like I'm for sure was getting sick. And she's like, yeah, you don't look well. But at the time, I thought I looked great. I thought I looked fantastic. But hindsight, right? What is that expression? Hindsight's 50-50 or 20-20? I don't know. I don't know expressions.
Hindsight is 20-20. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That makes more sense.
But yeah, no, it's so right. And like in the moment, you don't want to admit what's happening to you. And maybe you don't have the tools to even know it's just unconscious. Sure. And then all of a sudden, when you do see it, you're like, oh my God. Yep. Yeah.
So tell me then, like, how did the shift happen then for you to start this? I would imagine this is a new career for you then, being a coach, yes. A motivational coach and a self-discovery coach.
So 2 years ago, when I started this journey for myself, right, there are so many books and so many podcasts and just so many avenues that you can go down to try and help yourself and figure out what's going on. But only a few of them are going to resonate with you, right? And so I read Brianna Weiss, The Mountain Is You.
Okay.
And oh my God, it took me on this journey. I was like underlying every single paragraph because it was just speaking to me that much. And I was like, everything is coming back to me. Like I used to stare at myself in the mirror and be like, why does nobody love you?
Ugh.
But the question that I never asked myself is, why do you not love yourself?
Oh, this hurts my heart, Celeste.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out who I am. And like, almost like I am dating me, like to love myself more than anybody else in the world will, because there is no saying if that person will ever walk in the door. And if you're just waiting for your life to start tomorrow, and then tomorrow happens and that doesn't come, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, honestly.
And so I started all of this because I know that there are so many other women like you. Literally, we're just me too. Right?
No, yes. I think many of us have this exact story because of whatever ingrained into us from a very young age.
But the trick is knowing that you don't have to sit in it anymore.
Right. Well, I think unless you had said, like, unless you're actively pursuing that, how do you know that you don't have to sit in that anymore?
I think a lot of us have an itch, right? Like you go through your life on a cycle. You wake up, you scroll on your phone because you're probably unhappy, and you go to work. And then you're so burnt out that you turn the TV on and you pour a glass of wine and you buy things on Amazon, and like it just continues over and over. And there is something inside of you eventually that like starts to be like, hey, I can't do this anymore. Like this is not the life that I want to live. Like I want to go travel and salsa dance and do all of this other crazy stuff, right? That's where I'm trying to catch those women. The women that are starting to question why things are happening and that there might be a life that's better. And so podcast, if they're looking up like self-doubt or overthinking, right? I'm hoping that it pops up. And then I give a little spiel about like what it is and where did it come from? And here's how like you can do a couple different things to shift things in your life.
Yes. I have a friend that I'm 100% sending your way. Yes. She is recently divorced after at least 15 years of marriage. And they were such different people, which I think works sometimes in marriage and sometimes it doesn't. Her light was dimmed for sure. She wasn't the same when you would be around her. And she was so desperate for spontaneity and adventure and excitement that it started to have them separate, like break apart. Their closeness was no longer a thing because of this resentment sort of toward each other. And now that she's single, It's hard to start over, until you sit with what happened and, heal your central nervous system again and deal with the trauma that you've gone through the last X amount of years and really just learn to like who you are again. It's okay to be single. It's okay to not need somebody there to fill that void.
It's scary though, because even when I was growing up, and when I was telling my mom, I don't want to get married, she goes, he's so nice. Why would you walk away from that? And then she goes on, dating in your 40s is so hard. You don't want to deal with that. And I was like, are you kidding me? Wouldn't you want to get to know who you are and yourself more than settling for somebody?
100%. I said this to my friends when I was single. I said, and I feel like I was also, I think I had it in my head exactly what I wanted. And he was going to be 6'2" and he was going to be smoking hot and he wasn't going to have kids and he was going to be this and he was going to be that. And, I remember my friend saying, well, you're 30 now, so you don't get to be picky. And I was like, but I do get to be picky because this is my life. And if that's what I want, that's what I want. But I didn't realize everything that I wanted was a outside thing. It wasn't an intrinsic value to him. It was what he could bring to the table because he was hot and tall. And, it's crazy. My husband is shorter than me. And that it never even occurred to me that he was shorter than me when I first reconnected with him, because I just thought this man is so kind and loving and caring that it didn't even matter anymore. And it was like my world completely was rocked because everything I thought I wanted is not at all what I needed. And that was okay.
And that's kind of half the fun too, is being able to, after you've gotten away from the relationship and just spending time with yourself, really defining who it is that you want in your life, but also knowing that adding them into your life should not actually make your life any better than it already is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It can complement it. It doesn't make it better. It was, it needed to be good on its own. And then having that person there to support you just complements it. But I don't think we're all taught that. I think we're taught that you need a partner to, be whatever, the best version of yourself.
Well, and the funny thing is, if you think about it, 50 years ago, women had to have men to open a bank account and buy a house and all of the others. Right?
That's wild.
But now I get to pick.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not settling is important. Even this friend that I was just telling you about, some of the guys that she's dated, I'm like, what are you doing? This guy is triggering something in you that you don't like in yourself. So why are you settling for that? Why are you overthinking about this person? If he has something that you're really struggling with, then move along. There's 8 billion people in this world.
But we don't want to be alone. And the thing is, you are standing at that train station and you don't know when that next train is coming by. And so if you're like, oh, this train is coming now, let's hop on. He might have some of the things that I want, but maybe not everything. Yeah. The next train might not come for 5 years.
Yeah, literally. And why compromise in the meantime? I'm divorced, and it's like, I wish I don't know, maybe had not compromised in the beginning. And not saying that he was a compromise. He's a great person, but just maybe not for me. And so I wish that I hadn't have dove headfirst into it and maybe used some better judgment in my younger years, not trying to fill a void that, I don't know, I thought I needed to fill at the time.
I wish that I learned that too.
So then for me now with teenagers, it's like, how do we teach them? And I joke around with my daughter, but maybe I'm doing more harm than good. But with her boyfriend, I'm like, okay, so, at 19, when you guys get married, just as a joke, she doesn't even want to invite him for Thanksgiving because, Mom, that's weird. We only just started dating. I'm 15, calm down, is what she keeps saying to me. And then my mom will say, well, I met your grandfather at 15 and we're still together 45 years later or whatever. So I think even subconsciously we're promoting this sort of behavior that we're trying to also break at the same time.
I have not yet figured out how to have that conversation, right? Of like breaking what you want in a relationship, right? Like you're told that it's going to make it from a young age. But like having gone through it, right? Like you almost have to go through it first to figure out that the grass is not greener in a relationship.
Yes.
But you never see that on Instagram, right? Where it's like, I love my boyfriend. He's amazing. He bought me flowers, but you don't see the fights that they have and you don't see all of the other shit that they go through.
Yeah, exactly. What is that expression? The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's green where you water it.
Yes.
And so that, I mean, that obviously applies to relationships, but it certainly applies to yourself as well. If you are not giving yourself the love that you deserve, the self-care that you deserve, then how are you going to give to anybody? And then the other analogy is the oxygen mask in an airplane. Like you're supposed to put yours on first before you put on somebody else's. So again, how can you give to somebody? How can you fully love and commit to somebody when you can't even do that to yourself?
That's something that I feel like we have to relearn because that's just what we were taught. Share, be helpful.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking of these women, wives up until fairly recently, how miserable a lot of them must have been and trapped and stuck because it was loveless, respectless. You were just told to do something, so you did it. And that's sad. Like how many people, and also not fair to the husband, because ultimately we all just want to be loved, sort of deep down, loved and respected. And so how many of these marriages, and probably still today, but in the past, how many of these marriages went completely unloved or unrespected because people were just there because they were supposed to be there?
That hurts a little bit. Like thinking about just the lives that people didn't get to live.
I bet if you had conversations with your grandparents, I'm sure one of them would have that story. I know.
Well, that's why I'm talking to women. I mean, because they all have such different stories, but it all comes back to the same stuff.
Yeah, really. Well, I know, like talking to one of my grandmothers, she loved her life. She loved my grandfather so much. It was such a respectful, loving marriage. My other grandmother, it was not at all. He was very unkind and horrible to her. And she went back to him. He left her for 9 years with no money and 2 kids in a country she wasn't from. And then after 9 years, he started coming around again and she took him back. And I remember asking her, and now, she has dementia, so it's a little hard to get conversation out of her. But I remember asking her, like, why did you do it? Were you happy? And I don't think she was. She just did it because that was the right thing to do, because, she's a Christian lady and that's what God wants for you. But I don't know if I always agree with that. So it was sad.
Well, at least the right thing to do now and is opening more in the world is to get to know yourself and to discover. Yeah. Because there's probably so much under the surface that you don't know.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I do blood analysis on people. So I take a drop of blood, I put on a microscope, and it's crazy. Like even what your blood can show you. I can see stress, and in women for sure. I always see stress in women. And I tell them, like, what do you do for self-care? What hobbies do you have? What safety are you creating for yourself? And majority of them are like, I don't know. I don't have that. And even in my training to do this, our instructor said to all of us, what's your hobby? What's your hobby? What's your hobby? And I was like, I have no idea. And she's like, what brings you joy? And this is 1 month after cancer treatment ended. And I was like, I don't have joy. I'm just happy to be alive. Like, and she's like, no, you need joy in your life. What is it that brings you joy? And, I'm starting to figure that out now a year later, but I didn't, because I feel like for many years I suppressed that joy just to be a happy mom, happy caregiver, happy wife. But at what expense?
We forget. Yeah, we just forget that that's a normal part of life. You're constantly living at a 5.
Yeah.
And you forget that there can be 10s in there.
Yes, right. Exactly. Life doesn't have to be a 5K. Ladies, if you're listening, you don't have to live here. You can live here all the time. And there's going to be this, but you can choose this up here.
Exactly.
Wow. That's deep. That is super deep.
I try.
So I think that we need a part 2. Would you be open to a part 2 of this podcast? Because I think
Absolutely.
we have a lot more to talk about here.
I would say yes.
Okay, well, to end it, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and how they can contact you?
You can find me on Instagram at myhealingyourhealing or on my website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. And then if you look My Healing is Your Healing on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that there's a podcast, you can check out. There are guest episodes, but then there are also just me yapping at you.
Just you chatting.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being a guest, and I cannot wait to continue this conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Amazing. I love having these conversations. I cannot wait for part 2, which hopefully we can record right now while this momentum is going here. Make sure you check Celeste out on her podcast, My Healing is Your Healing, on YouTube or anywhere else that you can find podcasts. Thanks again, everybody. And don't forget to check me out on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Bye, everyone.